Hello, I know that I'm already in the room with you, either there or there, but that version isn't virtual and this version is. So I thought this just might make what I was about to cover a little bit more meaningful by way of example. So let's go over some basics. First of all, the point of presenting online and the idea of being professional, let's face it, it's all about TV. Pretty much the only time we see people, as we say, presenting down the barrel is on broadcast television. And what's interesting about that is how consistently the camera frames up on air, down the barrel, look at the camera style presenters. It's pretty much in every country it's the same. And therefore, that gives us a huge advantage to set up the way we look on camera to be closer to the pros and therefore appealing to the subconscious of the audience, okay? If I've spent 10,000 hours watching the news and the 7 p.m. project, whatever else, seeing people pretty much look the same, then if I set my own camera and mic up the same way, well, unconsciously, I may be looking at someone who does that as a little bit more professional. And therefore, the look and sound of our shot is perhaps as important as what we're doing within it. Okay, so let's go to the basics. Symmetrical. So in the middle of the frame, right in the middle. So I've got as much space either side. Second of all, there's a little bit of space between the top of my head and the top of the frame. And you'll notice it's about the same space between my mouth and the tip of my nose. I can pop that and look at that, it's almost the same. So that's the way I frame up. And that's what I learned to do in media studies. I've got a bachelor degree in media studies. That's what we learned to do when we learned how to be camera people 40 years ago. Nothing's changed. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need, you don't need to see what my belt, but you need to sort of see at least my chest and a little bit more. That's, again, a pretty standard shot. And what that does is allow me to sit, put my elbows on a table to, if you like, recreate the Eiffel Tower position for face-to-face presentations here. So in other words, standing still like the Eiffel Tower becomes me, bottom, 2 elbows, there's the support. And what you'll notice is I can keep my torso still and keep my arms fluid and gestural within the shot. And that's the next thing. Your hands have got to be in the shot. Your hands are more meaningful than your arms. Your fingers are more meaningful than your palms. Therefore, this is a beautiful advantage. So we can move away from that position of elbows on the table. We can move away from the camera and we can move towards the camera. And thus, it's the equivalent of maybe walking in a face-to-face presentation, but this is a good default position. You don't need to see me doing this. You need something to be still to get you to focus on my face and my hands. And that's the torso. So that's the thing. And you can see that the focus is on my voice, my face, and my gestures. But I'm not really doing much different than in face-to-face presentations where, surprise, surprise, the main focus is my face, my gestures, and my voice. So there's no loss here. The next thing is this, the microphone. It's your friend. There are things you can do with a microphone to change people's reaction to you as a presenter that you cannot do. HR don't want you whispering in people's ears. And by the way, that's a bit weird if you're even trying to do that with an audience. But I can create what we call a different psychoacoustic effect on the person, on the audience's mind. And I can shift their state quite well using a good mic. So that's a bit of an investment. The last thing is perhaps the most important, because I don't want to overcomplicate this. These basics are pretty much all I focus on, and I do a lot of on-air presenting for my YouTube channels and so forth. I'm now looking at you by not looking at you on the screen. So we spend our whole life on Teams, Zoom, doing this, looking at each other by not actually looking at each other. There's no eye contact. We're all not looking at each other for days on end. I suggest, and it takes a bit of discipline, give up your screen. Stop looking for positive reinforcement from the people you're presenting to here. Really give them eye contact. The beautiful thing about virtual presenting is you can look at your entire audience in the eye just by doing what the pros do on TV. staring down the barrel. This is the most powerful thing you can do when you're presenting online. Be the first person today in a Teams meeting to actually look at other people rather than doing what we're always doing. So they're just a few things to think about. Let's get back into the next activity or section. Cheers.